In a couple of days, Triple R might have just won the Oscar for Naatu Naatu, and we'll be rooting for it, but even if it doesn't win, for cinephiles like me, it's a tradition to wake up at 5 am on that one day every year to watch the biggest event in the world of cinema. But more than the movies that finally win the Oscar, my heart always roots for the underdogs that get nominated but may not necessarily win an Oscar. Hello and welcome back to the channel, everyone. Today's video is about 10 underrated but must-watch Oscar-nominated movies. And I'm really happy to announce that I found the perfect sponsor for my kind of content and for this video. Nokio, a movie and TV show recommendation platform, which is a really cool app made right here in India. And I'll tell you all about it, but first, let's get started with the list. Loving Vincent, directed by Dorota Kobiela and Hugh Welchman. Most of you might be familiar with Vincent van Gogh. Today he's known as one of the most famous and most influential artists in history, with his own signature oil painting style that's being copied and replicated across so many different mediums. But during his life in the 1800s, Vincent was a rather unsuccessful painter who was depressed, poor, heartbroken, alcoholic, but still managed to paint more than 2,100 paintings in his life, and during the last 2 years of his life, he painted more than 860 of those paintings before he shot himself. He's also infamous for a single accident of anger and heartbreak where he cut off his own ear. At some point of time, one of the millions of his modern day devotees decided to make a movie about his life, and here's why it's special. This is the world's first fully painted animated feature film, with each frame being an oil painting on canvas painted by hand. Over 100 painters were involved in the creation of the film. They painted more than 65,000 frames in the style of Van Gogh himself. This took over 6 years to complete, and still it was only nominated for the best animated feature film and lost. But that doesn't change the fact that it's one of the most craziest cinematic efforts that I've ever seen. Just try watching 5 minutes of the film and tell me if you've seen anything else in the world like this. Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind, directed by Michael Gondry. In the life of every cinephile, no matter what era they belong to, there are some films that leave an unforgettable impact, and for me, Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind is one such movie. Even if its plot is about a technology that allows you to erase someone's memory from your mind, not in a million years can anyone erase the memory of this film from my mind. And this is mainly because of how unique the story is, the use of practical effects, the way it blends sci-fi and romance and dark comedy into one of the most unforgettable love stories ever made. And it has Jim Carrey in his career best performance as a serious, introverted character, along with Kate Winslet with her constantly changing hair color but the same old irresistible charm. Charlie Kaufman, one of Hollywood's most accomplished screenwriters, won Best Original Screenplay for this film, but it was completely ignored for the Best Picture category, which finally went to Clint Eastwood's $1 Million Baby. That's also a film that I like, but still, Eternal Sunshine holds a special place in my heart and the pages of history as a once-in-a-lifetime kind of movie. Her, directed by Spike Jonze. This film might be set in the near future, but ever since the pandemic and especially today, with each passing day, it's becoming more and more relevant because of our constantly increasing relationship with AI. And maybe we've not fallen in love with an AI system, which is voiced by Scarlett Johansson, but the way the world of this film is created, which seems familiar and otherworldly at the same time, thanks to the gorgeous cinematography and the production design. A pastel shaded world which has computers that look futuristic and retro at the same time. No wonder the film won Best Production Design that year. Just like Eternal Sunshine and so many episodes of The Black Mirror, Her is a beautiful exploration of love, loneliness, isolation, human connection, and how technology can help us out and destroy us at the same time. But it gives us this hope that no matter how far the world advances, there's absolutely nothing that can replace the feeling of a real human being. And this paragraph was written by ChatGPT. Into the Wild by Sean Penn. Step outside your comfort zone. Explore the unknown. Find yourself. You've probably heard all of these quotes from either motivational speakers or YouTubers, pretty much the same thing, or seen these posters in offices around you. But let's admit, no one really does all this, except this guy. At different points in my childhood, because of maybe a fight I had with my mom about some toy or not getting the food I like, I've threatened to leave the house. I've actually left the house and then come down to the park and sit there for some time, and then when I got hungry, I would go back home. But Christopher McCandless became so fed up with his parents and society that he decided to quit college, dump his car, burn his money and hike across the country all the way to Alaska, and he didn't have a phone or social media or anything. All he had was a single backpack with a few survivalist items, some books and the thoughts of his favorite authors, a notebook, a map, the kindness of a few strangers, and nature. Into the Wild was nominated for Best Editing and Best Supporting Actor, but not even considered for the Best Picture that year. But for me personally, it's a film that I keep revisiting every single year, and I've probably seen it more times than any other film in my life. I don't have to lie to you and say that this is an optimistic film, but whenever I feel overburdened or numb in life, I join Chris on his journey, and through that, I realize what's actually important in my life, who is actually important in my life, and why I should never attempt at doing something like this in my life and just stick to making videos about it. Speaking of these videos, last year I had reached out to you guys with this survey about what you guys want to see on this channel, and out of 1031 people, 871 of you said you want to watch more movie and TV show recommendations on my channel. That's why I've also streamlined the content. But more importantly, if you watched any movie or show based on my recommendations, especially all of the feel-good movies that I've suggested, and if you want to find all my recommendations in one single place, I want you guys to download this app called Nokio, which is this really simple, cool platform for movie and TV show recommendations. And it's really different from any other app because firstly, platforms like Netflix or Amazon Prime also suggest you what to watch based on your watch history and what the AI thinks that you like. But tell me if you agree with this. We trust the recommendations of people that we follow, right? It could be a friend or a family member who's crazy about movies, or for me, there are critics like Bharadwaj Rangan whose taste I really trust. And this is what makes Nokio different. It's driven by the recommendations of the people in our circle and even the ratings for the movies and shows that you see. It differs from circle to circle instead of just showing you one common IMDb rating. Until now, I was using Letterboxd for logging the movies that I watched, but here I have access to not just movies but also shows. I can find where a movie or show is streaming, add stuff to my watch list, rate and review them. I can directly recommend something to someone. Like now, I'm just recommending Last of Us to Nona Prince. I really hope he likes it. And even you can recommend stuff directly to me, like how Vivek Tupsandre, who's one of my followers, has recommended me 3 movies to watch, which I'm gonna catch up on. And most importantly, unlike Letterboxd, this is an app that's made right here in India, which I'm really excited to support. So to solve a problem of wondering what to watch on a weekend or any random Tuesday, if you want to find all my recommendations in one single place or want to recommend me stuff to watch so that we can talk about it on the channel, download Nokio from the iOS App Store or Google Play Store, create a profile, find and follow me there. It's the only platform where I have a blue tick. And now back to the list. Incendies by Denis Villeneuve. I'm sure I'm pronouncing the name of the movie wrong, but it doesn't change the impact that the film had on me. Today, Denis Villeneuve is making these big budget films like the Dune series, but it's always nice to go back to a creator's early work, before Arrival, before Enemy or Prisoners or Sicario, when he made this heart-crushing drama about these twin siblings who are given this simple mission from their late mother to deliver a couple of letters, taking them back to their roots in the Middle East and making them discover the life and the struggle that their mother went through in the time of war and bloodshed. Irrespective of the budget, Denis Villeneuve has always taken these complex themes and conveyed them as these stories that hit us right here. And in this film, he explores family, identity, the haunting effects of war on individuals, and the pointlessness of the hatred caused by religious differences. Nominated for Best Foreign Language Film in 2011, lost, but still remains among the top of his best works. Following a similar theme but set in a completely different era, The Five Bloods by Spike Lee. This is also about the lasting trauma of war in one of the most controversial, pointless wars in history, the Vietnam War. While Incendies talks about family, The Five Bloods explores a different kind of family, about a group of friends, brothers who fought shoulder to shoulder in a war that they should have never joined, and losing the most virtuous of their friends on the battlefield, which is even more heartbreaking because it's played by Chadwick Boseman. Spike Lee has always made these powerful films mostly about black characters standing up for themselves in the never-ending issue of racism. His films are told with a certain style, a certain energy, without compromising on hard-hitting emotional impact. And The Five Bloods is another such kick to the gut. And the most interesting thing here is a creative decision that they take during the flashbacks. So go watch it and come back to tell me what what you thought that was. Room by Lenny Abrahamson. Sometimes we walk into a movie theater knowing absolutely nothing about the film. Maybe you just heard someone say that it's a good film and then you just decide to take a leap of faith. Room is one such movie which took me completely by surprise and gave me this unforgettable experience and restored the joy and faith in the practice of just letting life happen to you instead of planning every single second of it. The world of this film is a single room, and that's the only world that 5-year-old Jack knows, who's never seen the outside world because his mother, along with him, has been held captive in this room for more than 7 years. Revealing anything more about the film would be a crime, but what I can tell you is it's unbelievable how immersive, how moving this film is, even though it's set in a single claustrophobic atmosphere. Brie Larson won Best Actress for her performance, but the film lost Best Picture, Best Director and Best Adapted Screenplay, but that's okay because the major winner that year was this film called Spotlight, which totally deserved all the awards that it got because of how increasingly relevant it is in today's world, especially in our country. So if you haven't watched it yet, go watch it. Bonus recommendation. Truman Show by Peter Weir. Just like how Jack is trapped in that world, in that room, without knowing that he's trapped, Jim Carrey's character Truman is trapped in a different kind of world that he's completely unaware of. His life is the subject of a 24/7 television reality show, and everything around him is a prop. Every character in his life, including his family and his friends, is an actor, and every single moment that has happened in his life that he thinks is reality is a complete lie, which in turn is entertainment for the world. Even though the film came out in 1998, it has this timeless quality to it, mainly because of the way that it's shot. It feels very, very relatable today because our lives, most of our lives at least, are on constant display on social media. We've given up most of our privacy and forgotten the joy of living in the moment just to show off a lifestyle that we don't really have, buying things we can't really afford to impress people we don't really care about. And who cares that this film didn't win any Oscar that it was nominated for? This is not an understatement. The Truman Show is one of the greatest movies ever, period. Awakenings by Penny Marshall. Just like Truman Show, nominated for 3 Oscars but won none. Robert De Niro on one side, Robin Williams on the other side. 2 powerhouse performers in a powerful, moving story. Maybe this feeling has crossed your mind sometime when you've seen someone with a medical condition who's unable to move, unable to communicate, unable to react to stimuli, and at times you feel sympathy for these people, but at the same time you feel gratitude. You feel grateful that you're healthy, that you know what it is to be alive. But what would it be like to be on their side? And what would it be like to be around these people all the time? Devote most of your life to treating them, trying to awaken them through patience and kindness when every other method has failed. To say that Robert De Niro gave a great performance here would be stupid because he aces every single role. But this is an incredibly complex character, and there's a thin, tempting line for these roles that if an actor crosses, it could become a spoof. This is a role that feels like an unlimited buffet where any other actor would just come in, would be hungry to just bite into, get so many different plates and overeat. But De Niro is that rare actor who takes a single small plate, fills it up with some of the healthiest items on the list with just a little bit of spice on top, and says, "Yeah, I'm done." It's this realism that he brings into every character, including this character, which stays with you long after the end credits roll. The last film on this list is once again one of my all-time favorite movies. I also know it's among one of the favorites of Vaibhav from Chalchitra Talks. He talks about the movie all the time, just like me. It's been nominated for 6 Oscars but didn't even win one. And this film is Moneyball, directed by Bennett Miller. No matter how many times I watch it, this film feels like this river that just flows. And by the time the last shot hits of Brad Pitt in that car driving while playing his daughter's track on the stereo, my eyes turn into that same river. It's an underdog story, a father-daughter story, a story about friendship and passion and relentless pursuit, and showing the middle finger to every critic who's trying to bring you down. There's no reason for an Indian like me to connect with a film about baseball. I don't even like sports. I don't understand baseball at all. And even though the film is so smart with all the numbers and statistics and figures that it talks about, which I don't personally understand, what really works that it has this strong beating heart, and the screenplay of Steven Zalian and Aaron Sorkin is what keeps the rhythm of that heartbeat going. I don't know if this film is underrated or correctly rated, but I always like to include a feel-good movie in my list. So if you're looking for one and if you've not watched this, it does not get better than this. And that was my list of the most underrated yet must-watch Oscar-nominated movies. Go check them out in the weekend before the Oscar begins. Go download Nokio, check out all of my recommendations there as well. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.